Spring is a time for new life and regeneration, and today I am showing you guys how I took some antique finds that I picked up recently and giving them just a gentle facelift. I didn't want to change their original character too much, so I hope you enjoy the projects today. Thank you all for stopping by Lavender and Lace. I'm Alicia. I hope you will consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. Welcome back to my viewers that come and see me each week, and hello if you are new here. Please give this video a thumbs up, and let's get started with these antique makeovers. I found this bundle of antique spindles at my last shopping trip that I went on with my husband, and I did a video on everything that I found. I'll be sure and link that at the end of this one. And I just wanted to use a couple of these for this project. I wanted to leave the other ones as they were. I grabbed two different colors of chalk paint that I have in my stash, a blue and a green, and I think those are perfect colors to use for springtime. I cleaned up my spindles really well, just wanted to make sure I removed any dust or lint or anything like that. And I did one good coat of the blue on this spindle. And I've been wanting to try the wet distress technique, and I thought these would be perfect to give that a try. It's a small project, a small surface area, so I thought I would be able to test that really well with these. And I did a couple of coats on this other spindle with my green chalk paint. I think this was the moss color. And I let those dry completely before I tried to distress them. And to distress these, I used one of my dish rags that I had. This was just an older one that had some holes and things, so I was okay to use that for this project. You just want to use something that doesn't have a lot of lint. And you do want to work kind of quickly with this. I found out I just wet my dishcloth and I wrung out all of the excess water that I could, just so that it would be damp and not overly wet with a lot of water. And I just started rubbing the paint off, you guys. That's all it is with this technique. I absolutely love this. Once I tried it, I am completely hooked to this, and I can't wait to try it on a bigger project. I love the finish that I got on each of these spindles. It just gives these a very worn and antique look, which they are already antique, but it just adds a little bit to their character. And you don't want to remove a whole lot of that paint on there. I did kind of go back in some of the areas and had to wipe off some of that paint because it wanted to smear just a little bit and leave a little bit of the color on that wood that I wanted to show through. But I absolutely love how these turned out, you guys. I couldn't be happier with them. And just to style these, I put one of the spindles that I didn't distress. I just tied those together in a bundle and I added them to some decor in my bedroom. This is just a super simple way just to elevate a piece of antique decor that you may have found. I found this really neat wooden drawer that came out of a sewing machine table, and I asked my viewers in my shopping video if they thought I should distress this in any way or just add this handle that I had found at Hobby Lobby. And I listened to what you guys said, and all I did for this one was add that handle. I love the finish on that. So I just got some measurements to center my handle. I used a white colored pencil just to mark where I needed to go ahead and drill some little pilot holes to be able to attach my handle. and I used my little cordless drill to do that. This works great for small projects like this. I wouldn't recommend it if you wanted to do any kind of heavy duty woodwork or anything like that. And I did not drill the holes all the way through my box. I didn't want to have holes all the way in to the inside of my box, and since I'm not using this as anything except a decorative piece, I wasn't worried about securing that from the backside like you normally would with a drawer pull or something like that. And I wanted to be very careful with this piece while I was working on it, so I just used a small Phillips head screwdriver just to attach those screws to my handle and make sure everything was secure. And of course I couldn't find black screws that would match that handle, so I just took a very small tip paintbrush and I did a coat of my Waverly chalk paint in the color Truffle. And while that paint was still a little bit wet, I went back in with some of my antique wax, or not antique wax, excuse me, my Waverly chalk paint in the color ink, and that just kind of helped blend in those screws, and it actually gave them the same color and appearance as that handle, and you wouldn't even be able to tell that these were silver when I started working with them. And that is it for this, you guys. Super simple and just a very easy way to elevate this piece that I found. It looks great on my dresser and it looks perfect with those spindles that I just did in the last project. I saw some mason jars that had been converted into lamps while I was antique shopping, and they were asking $64 a piece for those. So I wanted to try to make them on my own because I was able to find some of the blue ball mason jars in the gallon size, and I picked those up for about $15 a piece. And then I ordered some of these lamp adapter kits online. I will link everything that I used for you guys if you want to recreate these. You could do it cheaper if you have the mason jars already on hand. The only thing that I wish I would have done differently is order one of the adapter kits that already had the lid that would fit on the mason jar. This particular one that I ordered, I think, was only for like a wine bottle or one of the decorative olive oil bottles. It would have worked perfectly for that. But since I was using a lid with the mason jar, I did have to just cut a hole in the top of that lid. I just traced out the size that I needed that to be, punched some holes in that with a nail, and I went back in with my tin snips as well as my wire cutters and just cut out the circle the size that I needed it on the top of that lid. That just allowed me to fit that part back in, so I would be able to attach the top part of my lamp adapter kit. I just put that back in on the lid, and I just screwed everything back together. My hole wasn't perfect. It wasn't nice and neat. It's really hard to cut metal like that and get a nice clean finish. But this worked. It worked really great for this project. Like I said, if you do this project, I would recommend getting the ones that already have that mason jar lid attached to those. And just to make sure this would not come out or get loose or anything like that on me, I did add a little bit of hot glue on the underside of my mason jar lid. And all I had to do was screw that back onto the top of my mason jar and add my light bulb. And I found these lampshades on Amazon. I will link those as well. I do still have to purchase some of the decorative lamp finials that go on the top to secure these to the lamp adapter kit. My total cost for these lamps is going to be about $45 once I order the finials to go on the top of these. So I was able to do these a little bit cheaper than what they had them priced for in the antique store. I just love how this turns out. This looks great, and you can even add some decorative pieces on the inside of your jars. So I think I'm going to be on the lookout for some wooden spools or maybe some antique keys to put in mine. What do you guys think about this one? This project is super easy and adds just a subtle touch of spring color to any room decor that you have. I had some of these larger wooden spools already on hand, and I found a couple smaller ones, so I wanted to pair those together in my bedroom decor. So the little one, all I did for that one to start with was I just tied a knot in some jute twine on the bottom. I did not want to use any glue or adhesives on these at all. I didn't want to risk the chance of messing those up in any way or damaging them or leaving any kind of residue if I want to take the jute twine off and do something different. And then all I did was just wind that all the way up to the top of my spool, and I just tucked the end of that twine in underneath some of the remaining strands that were there on the top. Just kind of tuck that in here and there just to make sure it was secure and wouldn't unravel. And I have some of these really pretty rub-on transfers in my stash. Unfortunately, these are out of stock on Amazon right now. Otherwise, I would link them for you guys. I will try to keep an eye on those, and if they are available again, I will be sure to link them for you. And I just cut out one of the very small flowers. Actually, I did a couple to see which one would fit better on this little mini wooden tag that I had picked up from Hobby Lobby. These came in a pack of 8, I believe, so I decided to use one of those. The twine that was already on that tag was a little bit too short for me to be able to tie this around my spool, so I just added a longer piece of jute to that, and I did rethread those little wooden beads. And to help me do that, I had to put a piece of Scotch tape on the end of my twine just to get that to go back through those beads. Those were a little bit smaller and didn't really want to cooperate with me. And all I did was add my little flower to the top of my wooden tag. I just pressed down firmly with my little Cricut scraper tool or burnishing tool that I have. And I also went back across that with the backing that comes on those transfers just to make sure that was applied. And I just tied that to the top of the smaller spool. And that's all I did for that one. And I picked up this really pretty chiffon ribbon on Amazon. I love the colors in this pack. They're just very neutral and all the spring colors that I am loving right now. Once again, I just started that by tying my ribbon on the bottom of this larger spool in a knot. And I just wrapped this one about half of the way up this spool. I wanted some of that wood to be showing through because I love the finish on this one. And to secure that ribbon, I just kind of doubled up a piece of Scotch tape and applied the ribbon to another piece of ribbon. Once again, I did not want to damage these in any way. And I found these gorgeous antique scissors on Amazon as well. Be sure you check the description box, you guys. I will link everything that I can there for you to check out. And I just tied them onto my spool with another piece of that chiffon ribbon And that is it for these. I added some candles to these, and I love how these turn out. It's just a gorgeous, soft touch of spring color. This next project was inspired by junk journal pages or scrapbooking, something like that. You guys let me know what you think about this type of project in the comments once you see it finished and complete. I picked up one of these corkboard frames, wall decor pieces at Hobby Lobby. I think it was $8. So it wasn't terribly expensive. You could do this with some of the corkboard from Dollar Tree, but I wanted a bigger piece. And I did a very light dry brushing all around the frame of this one with my Waverly chalk paint in the color plaster. And if you guys watched my last video, you know that I found a mystery bag of craft supplies at one of the booths at an antique store that I visited, and I did an unbagging of everything that I got in that. So I just went through all of those supplies that came in that bag, picked out my favorites, and I also grabbed some cardstock, some stickers, some cardboard cutouts, anything that I had on hand that I wanted to embellish this. It's going to be a wall decor piece that goes in my craft room. And here's just a look at everything that I decided to start working with. And all I did was take some of the bigger paper pieces and I just tore those into smaller pieces, and I did tear each of the edges of that so I wouldn't have a straight edge on those. I wanted them to, of course, look antiqued and vintage. So I just did some different colors, different pages with text, and different images. Just picked out kind of coordinating colors. Actually, I did kind of muted pinks and greens and blues and things like that. I want this to have a spring vibe to it as well. And to start working on this, I just did a dry fit with all of my bigger pieces. Just played around with what I had. I decided if I wanted to use this envelope or not. Just kind of moved everything around just to see how I wanted to lay this out. There was no rhyme or reason to this whatsoever, you guys. I just enjoyed the process with this. Just stepped back and looked at it now and then to see what else I might want to add, fill any gaps, anything like that. And my original thought was I would attach a lot of these things with some decorative push pins, but this cork board was so thin they wouldn't go through and hold anything. So I opted to use my Elmer's glue stick and just applied that to all of these pieces and attached that to my cork board, and they stuck really well. And it would be so fun to personalize these, have these as a themed wall decor piece, whatever that you want to do with these. This would be a fun project to do with your kids. Gracelyn, my daughter, actually has started doing a junk journal now because she saw me do this and she loved how it turned out so good that she has started doing her own pages in a journal. And this is how it looks once I have all of those bigger background pieces applied. And I had this cute little, kind of looked like an manila folder of sorts, I guess, just half of that. So I just put some glue on the edges of that so it could be a pocket that I could add things to. and I just found a smaller like newspaper clipping and one of those cardboard flowers that I had in the pack from Hobby Lobby. And I also got this little pack of inspirational sayings, quotes in that mystery bag. So I just picked out the ones that I liked, and they were self-adhesive, but I did go back with some of that glue stick just to make sure that they were sticking very well to that paper and the corkboard. Some of the edges wanted to peel up a little bit. And I pulled out several of those cardboard flowers that came in that pack. I think I did a bird as well on there. Just kind of placed those around. Did a dry fit once again. Just got those where I thought they would look the best. And I also had some of these pieces of greenery that I also got from Hobby Lobby. They are in the paper section as well. And I also had that happy cut out from a project that I did previously. And it was a little too big, so I just kept that on hand, and it worked perfect for this one. And once again, I just glued all of those pieces down with my Elmer's glue stick. And I wanted to add a little bit of text and have it look a little bit different than those little self-adhesive stickers that I already had on there. So I pulled out my stamps that I have in my stash, and I just put different phrases all around my wall decor piece. You could put whatever you want to on yours, of course. And just to add a little bit more texture, I glued down some mini clothespins that you can get from the Dollar Tree. And that way I'd be able to add any other kind of notes or anything like that that I want to on my piece. And I also took a Scrabble letter and glued that onto my board as well. And I had some of these decorative stickers that I had picked up from Dollar Tree last year probably. And they are great just to embellish projects and things like this. I had so much fun with this, you guys. I hope you decide to do this project. If you do, please let me know, and I would love to see a picture of it. You can leave that on my Facebook group, and that is linked in the description box as well. But you can just add so many different things to these, and I like that it is on my wall. I can see it all the time, and I don't have to pull out a journal and flip through pages or anything like that. But I think this one is so pretty, and it gives me some shabby chic vibes. What do you guys think about this one? That wraps up the projects for today. I hope you guys enjoyed these. Please give this video a thumbs up, and I hope you will consider subscribing if you haven't done that already. Be sure you click the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos that I have coming out. And I would love to connect with you on Facebook and Instagram. You can find links to both of those in the description box. I hope you all have a blessed day, and I will see you in the next one.